My name is Charlie Munger. I'm 99 years old. I've spent more than 70 years investing, building businesses, and studying how money actually works in the real world. Not in textbooks, not in motivational speeches, but in real life, where mistakes cost you money, time, and sometimes things you can never get back. At this point in my life, my net worth is roughly $2.5 billion. But there's something most people never talk about when they hear that number. There was a time when I started a year with less than nothing. Not just broke, not just low on cash, I was in negative net worth. I was divorced, buried in debt, and at the same time I was watching my 9-year-old son die from leukemia, while I couldn't afford the best medical treatment available. That was 1962. I was 38 years old. No safety net, no reputation, no clear path forward, just rock bottom. So when people ask me, and they do ask me, Charlie, if you had to start 2026 with absolutely $0, what would you do? I don't have to imagine it. I don't have to guess. I've already lived that life. I've been exactly where many people listening to this are right now. No money, no certainty, and no one coming to rescue you. I had to claw my way out of that hole inch by inch through discipline, clarity, and hard decisions. And if I had to do it again today, starting 2026 with nothing, I know exactly what I would do. Not theory, not positive thinking, not motivational nonsense designed to make you feel better for 5 minutes. I'm talking about a specific, practical plan built from more than 70 years of experience, successes, failures, and recovery. A plan that works, whether the economy is booming or collapsing, whether markets are up or down, whether you're 25 years old or 55 and feel like you're behind. Because there's one truth most people never really understand. Starting with nothing isn't your biggest problem. That might surprise you, because most people are convinced that money itself is the solution. They think if they just had a little more of it, one raise, one lucky break, one good investment, everything would finally fall into place. That's not how it works. Your real problem isn't that you're broke. Your real problem is that you don't have a plan. You're improvising your financial life day by day. You're reacting instead of directing. You're copying what the people around you are doing, many of whom are also struggling, and then wondering why you keep ending up in the same place. I've watched this pattern repeat itself for decades. People wake up every morning hoping things will somehow improve, but they never actually decide how that improvement is supposed to happen. They drift, they guess, they follow trends, and then they blame the economy, inflation, their boss, the government, or bad luck when nothing changes. Let me be very clear about something. If you start 2026 broke and do nothing differently, you will almost certainly end 2026 broke. Not because you're lazy, not because you're stupid, but because hope is not a strategy. Most people treat January like a ritual instead of a reset. They make New Year's resolutions on January 1st, feel motivated for a week or two, and then quietly slip back into the same habits by mid-January. 12 months later, they're sitting in the same chair, asking the same questions, wondering why another year disappeared. That's not bad luck. That's the absence of a system. What I'm about to give you is not inspiration. It's not entertainment, and it's not designed to make you feel comfortable. It's a plan, the same framework that took me from negative net worth to financial independence and eventually to extraordinary wealth. The same principles I've seen work again and again across different decades, different economies, and different types of people. And if you're starting 2026 broke, nearly broke, or just feeling like you're behind where you should be, this may be the most important time you invest all year. Because by the end of this process, you won't be guessing anymore. You'll know what to do month by month, where every dollar goes, and exactly what position you should be in by December. No confusion, no excuses, no improvisation. But before we get into the steps, there's something you need to understand, something that almost nobody talks about. Starting with nothing isn't just a disadvantage. If you approach it correctly, it can actually be an advantage. If I had to start 2026 with $0 in my bank account, I wouldn't be afraid. I'd be excited. That probably sounds strange, especially if you're living paycheck to paycheck or watching your savings disappear. But after a lifetime of observing how people succeed and fail financially, I can tell you this with absolute confidence. Starting with nothing gives you advantages that many wealthy people no longer have. And most people never realize this because they're too busy focusing on what they lack instead of what they're free from. Let me explain. Advantage number 1. You can take risks others can't. When you have nothing, you also have nothing to protect. No expensive lifestyle that has to be maintained. No oversized house you're terrified of losing. No car payment that locks you into a job you hate. You're not trapped by comfort. I see high-income earners all the time, people making $250,000 or $300,000 a year, who are completely paralyzed by fear. They spend nearly everything they earn, and as a result, they can't afford to take any meaningful risk. One wrong move and their entire lifestyle collapses. They're not free. They're owned by their expenses. If you're starting 2026 with nothing, you don't have that problem. You can move quickly. You can change direction. You can take chances that would terrify someone who has more to lose. And freedom, real freedom, is one of the most valuable financial assets there is. Advantage number 2. Your mistakes are cheap. When you're broke, failure doesn't cost much. If you try something this year and it doesn't work, what did you really lose? A few $100s? Maybe 1,000? That's not a catastrophe. That's tuition. When I make a mistake today, it can cost millions. When Warren Buffett makes a mistake, it can cost billions. But your mistakes, they're affordable. That means you can experiment. You can test different ways of earning money. You can try 3 or 4 approaches without destroying your future. And one of those attempts will work. Even the failures will pay you back in experience, judgment, and clarity. Most people never get ahead because they're so afraid of making a mistake that they never take one. Advantage number 3. Compound interest hasn't worked against you yet. Most people understand compound interest when it works for them. Very few understand that it also works against them. Bad decisions compound too. If you're 45 years old and starting 2026 with $0, it's likely because you've been compounding poor financial habits for decades, spending too much, saving too little, avoiding discomfort, and postponing responsibility. But if you're younger, or if this is simply a temporary setback, you haven't lost as much time as you think. Every year wasted between the ages of 20 and 40 can cost you roughly 6 figures in future wealth. But starting now, with the right structure, you can slow the damage and begin compounding in the right direction. Time is only your enemy if you continue doing nothing. However, I need to be honest with you. Starting with nothing is only an advantage if you act. Most people who begin 2026 broke will finish 2026 broke, not because they couldn't change, but because they didn't. They'll blame the economy, they'll blame inflation, they'll blame their boss or the system, and 12 months from now, they'll be standing in the same place, asking the same questions. Don't be that person, because what comes next is the plan, the one that ensures you don't waste another year of your life. If you follow what I'm about to lay out, and I mean actually follow it, not just listen and agree, your financial position at the end of this year will look completely different from where it is right now. You will have money saved. You will have income streams that didn't exist before. And more importantly, you will no longer feel lost. I've watched this framework work for over 70 years. It worked in the 1960s when I was broke and rebuilding from scratch. It worked in the 1980s when my investment firm was still small and unknown. It works today, and it will work in 2026, but only if you commit to it. Not for a week, not for a burst of motivation, for the entire year. Because wealth is not built in moments of inspiration. It's built through consistent execution over time. This plan is simple, but it's not easy, and it's designed that way. There are 7 specific steps, each one building on the previous one. Nothing is random, nothing is optional. By the time we're finished, you'll know exactly what to do in January, what to focus on in March, where you should be by June, and what position you must reach by December. No guessing, no "I'll figure it out later," no distractions. This is not a plan for getting rich quickly. It's a plan for getting unstuck permanently. Most people fail financially because they try to do everything at once. They invest before they're stable. They chase opportunity before they have discipline. They skip foundations and wonder why everything collapses. We're not going to do that. We're going to move in the correct order. So let's begin with the first step. Step 1 starts immediately, not next month, not when things feel more comfortable, right now. If you're starting the year with $0 or close to it, there's only one logical conclusion. Money is leaving your life faster than it's coming in. Until that changes, nothing else matters. You can read every book on investing. You can listen to podcasts all day. You can dream about future opportunities. None of it will help if your financial system is leaking. So step 1 is not exciting, it's not glamorous, but it's absolutely necessary. You stop the bleeding. Immediately. Not next month, not after one more paycheck, not when you feel more stable. Today. If I woke up on January 1st with no money, this is exactly what I would do. I would write down every single place my money goes. Not roughly, not approximately. Every dollar, every subscription, every automatic payment, every habit that quietly drains cash. Then I would cut at least half of it. Not negotiate with myself, not justify it. Cut it. If I'm broke, I don't have a car payment. I sell the car. I buy a reliable $3,000 used Honda or Toyota with cash. That single decision might free up $400 a month in payments and another $150 in insurance. That's $550 a month. Over a year, that's $6,600. When you're starting from zero, that's not small money. That's momentum. Eating out is gone. Completely. I cook every meal at home. Simple food. Rice, beans, eggs, chicken, vegetables. Nothing fancy. $5 a day, maybe less. Most people spend that on one coffee without thinking. Over a year, that shift alone can swing your finances by several $1,000s. Subscriptions are next. Streaming services, music apps, gym memberships, software you barely use. $10 here, $15 there, gone, all of it. I can read books from the library for free. I can exercise in my living room. This is not permanent. This is not punishment. This is a 12-month decision to reclaim control. Most people refuse to do this. They say things like, "I deserve to enjoy life," while they're broke. That's why they stay broke. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. When you're broke, the only thing you truly deserve is to stop being broke. Everything else is a luxury you haven't earned yet. So January is about discipline, living on less than you thought possible, eliminating anything that isn't essential. Because every dollar you don't spend this month becomes a dollar that can work for you next month. This step isn't about money. It's about proving to yourself that you're in control again. For the next 2 months, February and March, your financial life has exactly one priority: increase income. Nothing else comes first. Most people who are broke make the same mistake. They try to think like investors before they have anything meaningful to invest. They put $50 a month into index funds and tell themselves they're being responsible. That won't change your life. If you're starting 2026 with $0, you cannot invest your way out of poverty. Not this year, not next year, maybe in 30 years, but you need relief now. So for the next 60 days, forget investing entirely. Your job is to create cash flow. If I were starting from nothing, here's how I do it. First, I would sell my time at the highest possible rate. That means identifying the most valuable skill I currently have and offering it to the market immediately. It doesn't have to be your passion. This is not about fulfillment, it's about leverage. If you can write, you offer copywriting or content services. If you can design, you do freelance graphic work. If you can code, you take contract software jobs. If you can speak clearly and handle rejection, you sell. Cold calling, commission-based roles, anything that pays based on performance. We are not building a lifelong career in February and March. We are building capital, and there's a difference. Second, I would not rely on a single job. One job is fragile. If I could, I'd work a full-time role during the day, whatever pays the most. In the evenings, 3 to 4 hours of freelance or contract work. On weekends, something simple that reliably adds cash. Driving, delivery, handyman work, tutoring, anything that brings in another few $100s a month. Most people will immediately say, "That's too much, I'll burn out." Let me put that in perspective. You know what's hard? Being 65 years old and broke. You know what real burnout is? Working until you're 75 because you didn't push yourself at 35. For 8 weeks, I would work 70-hour weeks without apology. No complaining, no negotiating with myself, just execution. The goal by April 1st is simple: save $5,000. That number might not sound impressive, but when you're starting from zero, it changes everything. $5,000 gives you options, it gives you breathing room, and more importantly, it proves something to you. It proves that you can delay gratification, that you can follow through, that you are no longer powerless. Psychologically, that shift matters more than the money itself. By April, you stop thinking like someone who's barely surviving and start thinking like someone who's building. And that's when we move to the next step. Once you reach $5,000, every instinct you have will tell you to invest it. Don't. Not yet. This is where many people sabotage themselves without realizing it. Here's what happens over and over again. Someone who's been broke finally saves a few $1,000s. They get excited, they feel hopeful, and they rush into the market because they don't want to miss out. Then life happens. The car breaks down, a medical bill shows up, hours get cut at work, an unexpected expense hits, and suddenly they're forced to sell their investments at the worst possible time, often at a loss, just to survive. They end up back at zero. Then they quit. I've watched this pattern destroy people for more than 70 years. So instead of investing too early, we build something far more important first. We build the emergency wall. From April through June, your mission is to save $10,000 in cash. No drama, no excitement, just money sitting there, boring and safe, ideally in a high-yield savings account earning a modest return. Some financial experts will tell you this is inefficient. They'll talk about inflation and opportunity cost and how that money should be invested. Ignore them. They've never been broke. They don't understand the psychology of scarcity. When you've lived without money, the worst financial position isn't having cash that earns 4%. The worst position is having no cash when an emergency hits. For these 3 months, your approach stays the same as February and March. Maximum income, minimum expenses. You keep working multiple income streams. You keep living lean. But now, instead of saving your first $5,000, you're building your safety net. By the end of June, you'll have $15,000 total. $10,000 you don't touch, $5,000 you already proved you can save, and something important will change. You'll stop making decisions from fear. You'll stop feeling desperate, because $15,000 buys you time. If you lose your job, you can survive for several months while you find a better one. If something unexpected happens, you handle it without panic or debt. This is the foundation. Every wealthy person has it, even if they never talk about it. It's not exciting, it's not impressive, but without it, everything else collapses. Once the emergency wall is in place, only then do we move forward. By the time you reach July, your situation is no longer fragile. You're stable. You have an emergency fund. You've proven you can control your spending. You've proven you can earn aggressively when needed. Now, and only now, it's time to invest. But not the way most people think. If you're starting from nothing, you are not ready for stocks yet. You're not ready for real estate. You're not ready for crypto, gold, or whatever else happens to be fashionable. Right now, the smartest investment you can make is in yourself. Here's why. You already have $15,000 saved. $10,000 of that stays untouched as your emergency wall. It does not move. The remaining $5,000 becomes your first real investment capital. And the goal of this investment is simple. Increase your earning ability. If I were starting over today, this is exactly how I'd allocate it. First, I'd invest in skills that immediately raise my income. If I'm earning $20 an hour, I'm looking for a way to get to $35. That might mean spending $2,000 on a certification, a license, or specialized training. Coding, a commercial driver's license, a real estate license, technical trades. I don't care what the skill is, as long as the math works. Spending $2,000 to earn $15 more per hour is an extraordinary return. That's not theoretical. That's real cash flow every week for years. Second, I'd invest in tools that let me earn independently. If I write, I buy a solid laptop and software. If I build things, I buy professional-grade tools. If I sell, I buy inventory or systems that support sales. The objective is ownership. You want to own the means by which you generate income, even if it's small at first. Third, I'd invest in positioning and relationships. I'd spend about $1,000 attending industry events, joining professional groups, or having lunch with people who are already where I want to be. This might sound intangible, but it isn't. Every major opportunity I've ever had came from knowing the right person at the right time. Finally, I'd keep $1,000 untouched as an opportunity fund. Unexpected deals appear when you're prepared. Distressed equipment, short-term freelance needs, small flips. This money gives you flexibility. Most people at this stage say, "But I want to invest in stocks." I understand that urge, but the market will still be there next year, and next year you'll be investing with a much larger base. Right now, the priority is closing the gap between what you earn and what you need. By the end of August, if you've done this correctly, you are earning significantly more than you were in January, and that sets the stage for what comes next. By the time September arrives, you are no longer in survival mode. If you followed the plan, your financial life looks completely different from where it was in January. You have a $10,000 emergency fund. You've invested $5,000 into skills and tools that increased your income. You're earning more per hour, and you're still living below your means. That puts you ahead of the vast majority of people. Now we build the thing that truly separates those who stay stuck from those who move ahead. A second income stream. And let me be clear about what I mean by that. I'm not talking about the fantasy version of passive income that's sold online. No drop shipping, no overnight success stories, no courses promising money while you sleep with no effort. I'm talking about real income streams, boring, durable, and repeatable, that continue to pay you even when you're not actively working. If I were starting from where you are today, here are the two paths I would seriously consider. Option 1. Dividend-paying stocks. By September, with your increased income and controlled expenses, you should be able to save an additional $3,000. That money goes into a portfolio of reliable dividend-paying companies. Not exciting companies, not trendy companies. Companies that sell essentials, soap, toothpaste, insurance, utilities. Businesses that have paid dividends consistently for decades. At a 4% yield, $3,000 produces about $120 per year. That's $10 a month. It sounds insignificant, and that's exactly why most people dismiss it. But that $10 is money you didn't trade time for. And next month, you add another $300, and the month after that, another $300. By December, that 10 becomes 40. Next year, it becomes 200, and in a few years, if you stay consistent, it becomes meaningful. This is how compounding actually starts, quietly. Option 2, real estate through house hacking. If you've saved aggressively, by September you may have $15,000 in your emergency fund and another $5,000 available. That's $20,000. With programs like FHA loans, that can be enough for a down payment on a small duplex in a working-class neighborhood. You live in one unit, you rent out the other. The rent covers most or all of your mortgage. You reduce your housing cost dramatically, build equity, and control a tangible asset. In 10 years, you own something valuable, and you lived nearly rent-free while doing it. Both of these paths accomplish the same thing. They begin separating your income from your labor. That's the shift. And once that process starts, it accelerates. November is the most dangerous month in the entire plan. Not because of markets, not because of the economy, but because of human behavior. By November, you've been disciplined for 10 straight months. You've worked harder than usual. You've spent less than your peers. You've said no to things you wanted. And now the world starts whispering to you. You see advertisements everywhere. You hear coworkers talking about holiday shopping. Your family starts making plans that cost money. And a quiet voice inside your head says, "You've earned a break." That voice has ruined more financial futures than any recession ever could. This is the month where people dip into their emergency fund just this once. This is the month where investments get paused. This is the month where lifestyle creep sneaks back in under the disguise of celebration. So November is not about making money. November is about holding the line. Your rules do not change. The emergency fund stays untouched, your investments continue automatically, your spending remains intentional. You can enjoy the holidays, but only inside the system you've built. If you want to spend more, you must earn more. If you don't earn more, you don't spend more. There are no exceptions. This month is a psychological stress test. It reveals whether your progress was built on motivation or on structure. Motivation fades, structure holds. If you pass November, something powerful happens. You stop being someone who tries to manage money. You become someone who does. And that identity shift is permanent. Most people fail here because they believe discipline is deprivation. It isn't. Discipline is deciding in advance what matters most and refusing to trade it for short-term comfort. By the end of November, your finances are no longer fragile. They're resilient. And that brings us to the final step. December is not a finish line. It's a checkpoint. By now, the numbers matter less than what you've become. 12 months ago, money controlled your decisions. Every unexpected expense felt like a threat. Every opportunity felt risky because you had no margin. Now you have margin. You have an emergency fund that protects you from chaos. You have investments that work even when you're not. You have skills that increase your earning power. And most importantly, you have habits that no longer rely on willpower. December is the month you lock this in. First, you formalize the system. You automate everything that can be automated. Savings transfers happen without you thinking about them. Investment contributions happen on schedule. Bills are paid automatically. This removes emotion from the process. Second, you raise your standards. The lifestyle you built during this year becomes your baseline, not a temporary sacrifice. If you lived on less before, you can live on less again. If you built a second income stream, you protect it. If your earnings increased, you don't immediately upgrade your life. You let the gap between what you earn and what you spend keep widening. That gap is where freedom comes from. Third, you plan the next 12 months with a different mindset. You're no longer asking, how do I survive? You're asking, how do I scale? Do I invest more aggressively? Do I buy another asset? Do I build something that can operate without your daily involvement? Those questions only become possible because of the foundation you laid this year. Most people think wealth is built by big wins. It isn't. It's built by refusing to return to old behaviors once progress has been made. December is where you decide that this version of you is permanent. Not because it feels good, not because it's impressive, but because it works. And if you stay inside this system long enough, the results become unavoidable.